Welcome back to the Bullyball podcast. As you can see, we're in the same location. No background, we're making it happen on the go today. Let us know if you tune in. Let us know how the audio is, how everything sounds, because, we're rigging it today. So thanks for tuning in. We got a lot to talk about today. We're talking about the 90-man roster. We're talking about the schedule breakdown. And as you can see, we're together. We're both in Florida right now filming this video.
It's good to be here. I'm excited. I know the roster breakdown, when the roster came out, or not the roster, the schedule came out. I know that was a big deal for a lot of 49er fans. So excited to jump into it and have some interesting games on there. So let's get into it.
Tony Montana, Tony Montana, Tony Montana, check up on my ear. Tony Montana, Tony Montana, Tony Montana, I'm about to cut the...
All righty, let's jump into this. We can let's look at the schedule first. We can give our win-loss projections for the 49ers schedule this year. Like we said, there's a lot of interesting games. So I know a big one is going to be in Las Vegas, New Year's Day. So that's going to be a big one we'll have to tune in for. All right. So week 1, we're going to be in Chicago playing the Chicago Bears and Justin Fields. Should be a fun game. You're going to have Trey Lance, young quarterback, Justin Fields, who is a quarterback that a lot of 49ers fans wanted as well. So that'll be a fun one. The 49ers don't start out too hot, but I will say that we'll escape Chicago with the dub on the opening game.
So, I agree with the 49ers don't usually start off the season too hot. Trey probably still going to be getting into his groove, getting ready for the season, but it's a good game to open with. Chicago has a decent defense. I wouldn't say they're like top notch. So that's a good game to start with. I think they get the win there as well. It's going to be a good game to see Trey Lance and Justin Fields opening it up. The two young guys shooting it out, good game. Also, I possibly will be at that game, I'll let you guys know. I'm going to be at one of the Chicago, Denver, Carolina, or Atlanta games, early in the season. So I'll let you guys know which one I'm going to be at. But anyways, on to week 2, we have Seattle Seahawks. Is that a home or away? That's home. That's a home opener versus Seattle. Early game, so it's probably going to be pretty hot. We all know Seattle looks like they're rebuilding. I still think it's going to be a tough game. They know how to play us. Can't count them out. They always going to play us tough. They're one of those teams where you're like, yeah, that's an easy win. I wouldn't say that, but I do think we will win that game. So 2-0 for me.
Yeah, and those interconference games are always tough because if you guys remember back in the day when the Niners to like 2011, 12, 13, when the Niners were going to those back-to-back NFC championship games, etc., we would always lose to the Rams, or the Rams would always play us super tough, Even going back a couple years when the Rams were doing really good, we and the Niners sucked, we would always beat them. So these interconference games are always going to be super competitive and very, very tight. But I still think the Niners come out of Seattle or come out of Levi's at the home opener with the dub. Levi's is going to be rocking. It's going to be going crazy for Trey Lance, for the whole team. So I think, like Joe said, we'll come out 2-0 out of that home opener. And then moving on, week 3, playing the AFC West this year is very unfortunate for the 49ers because all those teams are stacked. They are definitely stacked. Playing Denver, Denver just got Russell Wilson. They have previous 49er DJ Jones as well, manning that middle for them on the D-line. they still have a pretty good offense with Jerry Jeudy as well, good running backs. This one's going to be a tough one down in Denver. 49ers are fortunate that it is early in the season, so it might not be very cold, which is good, which will help out the Niners. This one I'm going to say no. The boogeyman, Russell Wilson, always gets the best out of the Niners no matter how bad or good his team is. So I'll say an L in week 3, putting us at 2-1.
It's a Sunday night football, so it's going to be Trey's first, bright lights, if you want to say that. Sunday night, all eyes on him. You're playing a Hall of Fame quarterback. And it's also probably going to be the first legit, maybe top 5 to top 10 defense that we play on the year. So, yeah, I think it's going to be a tough one. And it's really, really going to depend how the O-line holds up. We're going to see early on, is this team's O-line going to be good? Are they going to be bad? And that's going to make the big difference in this game for me. I'll go along with the loss. I think it'll be a close game, but I'll say it's a loss, 2-1. Moving on to week 4, LA Rams at home. And that is, I believe, Monday Night Football, if I'm correct there. So, back-to-back bright light games. This one's at home, Monday night. You got a long week to prepare. The 49ers, this is kind of like how I said the Seahawks, those interconference games, you play each other tough every time. And I think the 49ers this year are probably going to split with the Rams. I'll go ahead and I'll say the 49ers take the L at home on this one because we know 49ers aren't the best at home. They're better on the road. So I'll say this one's an L. I think the 49ers match up a little better this year with the Rams now that Von Miller's gone. But they did get Bobby Wagner. So, still a very, very good team. And Trey's going to have some very tough games back-to-back. So I'm saying 2-2 heading out of week 4.
Yep, I agree. Pretty much took the words out of my mouth. Like we said, the Niners have been known to struggle in Levi's and play a little bit better on the road. The Rams lost a lot of players, but at the same time, they gained a lot of impactful players. The Bobby Wagner, Allen Robinson. They don't have Odell or Robert Woods, but they got Allen Robinson. They still have Stafford, Kupp. So they still have a lot of good players. So I agree. I think we'll go 2-2 coming out of week 4. Going into week 5 and week 6, this is going to be a back-to-back stretch of away games. So I anticipate the Niners will probably just stay out there somewhere in the South. They do it every year when they have those back-to-backs. Good thing is both of these teams aren't great right now, at least. Could be interesting if Jimmy G ends up getting traded to the Panthers because that's an option. Jimmy G can still land with the Panthers, so watch out for that. The Panthers don't have a very good roster. They have Sam Darnold at quarterback or Matt Corral, which those two guys don't really intimidate me too much for the Niners. They have DJ Moore as well. Decent defense, Brian Burns, Jeremy Chin, I think, who's at safety. But I'll say the Niners get the dub in week 5, putting us at 3-2.
The Jimmy G revenge game right here. But there was a report earlier today that the Panthers still are looking at a veteran option. Yeah, it's a win for me as well. Good underrated defense. So, like I said, if this O-line fails, a lot of these games are going to end up losses. But at the moment, this game is a win for me, same exact reason. 49ers are a more complete, better team. But like I said, if you start seeing that O-line fail or just get some injuries on it, it's going to be rough. Moving to week 6, like he said, it's another away game at Atlanta. You're playing the Falcons early in the morning at 10 a.m. Just kind of surprising. Oh, this is Pacific time. Never mind. Anyways, Falcons. I think the Falcons are honestly going to be a little bit underrated this year. Mariota might come out and show some people he still can play a little bit. No Calvin Ridley, but they did get Drake London in the draft. They got a Kyle Pitts, great tight end. Who else? AJ Terrell on defense.
Cordell Patterson.
Yeah, Cordell Patterson. So they have some talent. They're a pretty good team, but I still think the 49ers win, much better roster overall, which puts us at this point, 4-2? 4-2 for me.
Yep, I agree. Falcons, they have some underrated talent, but I don't think it's enough to knock off the 49ers. We always play extremely well on the road, like we said, too. So I think 4-2. The Falcons lost one of their best linebackers. So, I agree. 4-2 going into week 7, and this is going to start a tough stretch for the Niners here. This back end of the schedule is pretty heavy. Week 7 is at home versus the Chiefs, which is going to be an extremely good game. Obviously, the Chiefs don't have Tyreek Hill, but they're still going to be good. Patrick Mahomes is still going to be slinging the rock with Travis Kelce, Juju. So they're still going to be good. Their defense is decent still. They lost Tyrann Mathieu, but they'll still be pretty good. They'll still be all right. They're still going to be one of the top teams in AFC, that's for sure. And, yeah, the Falcons traded for Bryan Edwards, and they got Desmond Ridder. Bryan Edwards, underrated receiver in my opinion. I think he could do some great things if he was given the opportunity. I know it's someone that Joe was pretty high on as well coming out last year. Back to the game on the Chiefs. Yeah, that's going to be a tough game. It's going to be a toss-up, and the Chiefs have gotten the better of us the past times that we've played. At home, it's going to be rocking, but I think I'm going to go an L, unfortunately, putting us at 4-3 into week 7, going into a tough stretch.
All right, so week 7 Chiefs coming to town. First time playing the Chiefs, I believe, correct, since the Super Bowl? I believe so. When you have Patrick Mahomes, you always have a chance to win. And as a 49er fan, that's been one of the tough things is we've never had a quarterback since even the 2000s where it's we have a chance to win every week. At least to me, that's how I felt.
I think the early stages of Cap, those are kind of
yeah.
Stage when he was first coming out and shocking people, I think he gave the Niners a good opportunity.
I also think that was more the team though as well. That team was loaded. Mahomes, you put him on any team, you got a chance to win any game. And that's one thing we hope Trey Lance becomes for this team. We could beat any team. You know what I mean? But anyways, I'm going with the upset here. 49ers win. The 49ers loaded up that defensive end, D-line talent. And as we saw in that Super Bowl and this past year, who was it? The Bengals. You get after Mahomes, man. He makes mistakes. And the 49ers upgraded the defensive backfield. Hey, they're coming after his ass this year. So I'm going with a win, which is putting me at 5-2, I believe, at this point. And then we head into you have some.
Thing I want to touch on about that Chiefs game too is we got Charvarius Ward from the Chiefs, so that could be the Ward revenge game. Picking off Mahomes. I think a key for that one is getting up big on them early, or even if not, I'm pretty sure they were up big on the Bengals at halftime, right, in that AFC Championship game or whatever it was, and the Bengals ended up coming back. But you can't start slow with the Chiefs. You got to start fast. You got to keep up with them, in my opinion. So, big game to watch for. Charvarius Ward revenge game, possibly. Keep an eye on that.
Yes, sir. So heading into week 8, you are going to be at LA playing the Rams. And like I said, I think we're going to split with them this year. So this is another win. You know, the 49ers are going on a streak here. The team is catching its groove. Trey Lance is catching his groove. And it's another win, putting me at 6-2, heading into the bye week. You know, the team's chugging along, doing a lot better than I think most people would have thought they were going to do. But I also think you got to remember this team has a lot of talent. So they can compete with anybody. And Trey Lance brings a dynamic that Jimmy didn't. And, you know, people discount him because, his accuracy is thrown over the middle. We're going to see. And I think at this point, 6-2.
Yep, like we said earlier, we think that we're going to split with the Rams, winning the one game away instead of the at-home game. I agree. I think we'll win this one. This will be a fun one. All the Rams games, all the interdivision games are always fun too, so it should be a good one. But I think the Niners bounce back from the Kansas City loss, get a big win going into the bye week to get some rest and recoup, you know. So that puts my record at, I believe, 5-3, while Joseph sits at 6-2 going into the bye. Coming out of the bye, we have another tough game, another tough one against the AFC West, you know, versus the LA Chargers, which it looks like is a Sunday night game, right? Sunday night, prime time. That's the game where you want your stars to make the biggest plays, you know. Going to be a tough one here again. Herbert, kind of like a Mahomes, gives you every opportunity to win a game no matter what. They're still loaded on offense. Austin Eckler, Keenan Allen, Mike Williams. Defense, they got J.C. Jackson this year, Khalil Mack, Bosa, Derwin James. So they have all the talent in the world on both sides of the ball. But I think I'm going to go an upset here for the Niners. You know, winning it at home. Levi's going to go crazy for this game. This game better be rocking. I think Trey Lance outduels Herbert with the big-time upset, 'cause I think the Chargers are going to make a lot of damage this year, but I'll give it to the Niners, putting me at, 6-3? 6-3 after week 10.
So here I am going the opposite way. Coming out of the bye week, you know, 49ers trying to get healthy. But, you know, coming off a bye week, you're a little sluggish coming into the next week. And you're playing prime time against probably the most talented team in the NFL this year, just based on, talent on the roster. I'm taking a loss. I think this is the game you're going to see that O-line fold because it's just there's too much talent on that defense. Even if you had an all-pro O-line, it's going to be tough to hold up. So I'm sitting right there with you at 6-3. We just got there a different way. Week 11, you're playing the Cardinals in Mexico City, Monday Night Football. And I believe the 49ers, was it last year or 2 years ago, were supposed to play at this same stadium. And they got canceled because the turf was bad or something, or the field. But anyways, the Cardinals are a tough team this year to predict, you know. Are they good? Are they bad? You know, they got DeAndre Hopkins will be available this game. They got Hollywood Brown. I believe they re-signed James Conner, correct? Mm-hmm. Kyler Murray. They reloaded the O-line. I believe they're bringing back the same defense. But are they good? Are they bad? I don't know. I am going to say I think the 49ers are going to split with the Cardinals as well this year. This one, I think the 49ers might go on a little bit of a slide. You know, they have a tough this whole middle section of the schedule is rough. So I'm going to say another loss. 6-4, I believe, is what I am going to be at here.
6-4 is where Joseph's at in week 11. This game's going to be an interesting game because, like he said, I think a couple years ago, the turf and air quality in Mexico City was like terrible. They almost had to cancel the game that was going to be played out there. So that's something to watch because that's going to be huge. This is a what? Monday night football.
Yeah.
So you're going to have a little extra long week to prepare for this one. Down in Mexico City, I expect the Niner fans to show up big time. I think the Niners come out of this one with the dub. You know, like we said, all interconference games are going to be extremely competitive no matter how good or bad the teams are. I think we'll come out with the dub week 11, putting me at 7-3 after week 11. Going into week 12 at home versus the Saints, New Orleans Saints. Saints are as well an interesting team this year. Hard to predict what they're going to be. They have Jameis Winston at quarterback, who we all know can either just go crazy throwing the rock or he'll have another 30 interception season. Like, you never know what you're getting. I believe last year, off an ACL surgery. I believe last year when he was healthy, they were doing pretty good though, right?
Yeah, I think they're like 4 or 5-0 or something.
Yeah. So that's something to watch for. They upgraded their receivers. You're going to have Michael Thomas, Jarvis Landry, Chris Olave. Their defense is good. They got Tyrann Mathieu. It's going to be an interesting one for sure. But I think the 49ers pass rush is going to get to Jameis and force him into throwing interceptions. And I don't expect their run game to get going too much, because our run defense is always pretty solid, even though they have Alvin Kamara. But like I said, I think the pass rush in this game is going to be huge. Drake Jackson, Nick Bosa, Kinlaw, Armstead. The whole depth's going to have to play a big part into this win. But I think they get it done, putting us at 7-3, right?
No, you're at 8-3, I think.
8-3? No, 7-3.
That's the 11th game.
Okay.
8-3.
8-3, I think. So we're at 8-3 for me going into that one. Pass rush playing a big part.
I also think this is an interesting game. Saints probably have a top 5 defense this year. They were a great defense last year. And they upgraded the safety position, both safety spots. Marcus May is another good safety. They have good corners. They just have a full, complete defense. Great receivers, great running game with Kamara. O-line took some hits this year. They lost Terron Armstead. I believe that's his name, right? Great tackle. And I'm going to be honest, I just don't believe in Jameis Winston coming off that knee. Makes bad decisions. And I think that's what's going to be the issue. We're going to get after him, cause him to throw some picks. 49ers win. This puts me at
7-4.
7-4, I believe.
I'm at 8-3.
Yeah,
You're
7-4. I thought we had the same record. 7-4. I don't know, but it's 7-4 for me here. Then we head over we're going back home to play the Dolphins. In week 13, it's going to be an early game, 1:05 p.m. Interesting team because they're going to know everything we're going to be doing because they have Mike McDaniel as a head coach.
You said a loss at the Cardinals, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's why you're one game below.
Oh.
Because I said a win.
So I'm 7-4.
I made 3.
Super loaded roster as well. Their defense very underrated. They have that one corner, Byron Jones. Yeah, Xavier Howard. Good pass rusher last year. That was a rookie. Can't think of his name off the top of my head. Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Raheem Mostert. Pretty loaded roster, if I'm being honest with you. But You got Tua, who I am not the highest on. I think he's going to have a good year, but I don't think he's going to have a good game against us. Mike McDaniel's going to put them in the best position to win this game. It's going to be a shootout, and it's going to be a very, very fun game to watch. And the 49ers pull it out just because I think they're going to play bully ball. And I don't think that team is ready to play bully ball, if I'm being honest with you. So I am at 8-4 now, I believe.
Yeah.
And let's see what Alex has to say.
Yeah, this game's going to be tough, playing against Mike McDaniel, first-time head coach. They have the speed, and I think the speed is what hurts the 49ers defense because you have Raheem Mostert, you have Tyreek Hill, you have Waddle, like Joseph said.
Healthy.
If they're healthy. You have Mike Gesicki. They also got a Chase Edmonds from the Cardinals this year. They revamped that O-line. They got Taron Armstead, the guy from the Cowboys as well. Collins, I believe his last name was. Yeah. So they're pretty stacked. This one's tough, but I think Mike McDaniel edges out Shanahan in this one. I think the speed gets to our defense and beats it over the top, unfortunately. So I think we'll end up at the same record after week 13 at 8-4. 8-4. Going into week 14 against Tampa Bay at home. This one's going to be extremely interesting. If Brady's still healthy, he's going to come out with a vengeance after it was rumored the Niners passed on him, didn't want him because we had Jimmy G at the time. Yeah, this one's going to be tough. They still have – will Chris Godwin be back by then? Because I know he tore his ACL or something in the playoffs.
It'll be close. I think he'll be back.
So they'll have Chris Godwin. They still have Mike Evans, Leonard Fournette. Their defense is still pretty good. I think they lost a couple players, but still they'll be pretty good. This one's going to be tough. Tampa. I think the Niners win this one at home. I'm not going to let Brady come out all crazy. Hopefully our pass rush can get to him in the pocket. So I'll say a win, putting us at 9-4, I believe. Hopefully.
This one, I think, this is a tough one because Brady, when you get some pressure on him lately, he gets a little inaccurate. But, the season's winding down. You have some injuries, team's worn out. I think the Tampa Bay Bucks are going to pull this one out on us, unfortunately, which puts me at, I believe, 8-5. I believe heading into week 15 against the Seahawks at Seattle. We don't play good in Seattle.
Thursday night game.
Oh, and that's probably going to get changed. I don't think they're going to leave that a Thursday night game, but I think we beat them. I think we sweep Seattle this year. Puts me at 9-5, right in the thick of the race for the playoffs. I think we're going to be super close with the Rams and the Cardinals for the playoff race again. It's going to come down to the last couple weeks, but 9-5 following the Seattle game.
Yep, I agree. I think the Niners get their revenge on Seattle. They beat us twice last year. I think we'll beat them twice this year. Like we said, it'll still be competitive, still be close. I think the Seahawks are going to shock a lot of people, but not to a crazy amount. They're not going to be like a huge playoff team or anything like that. It's not with Drew Lock, at least. So I think we'll win this one, putting me at – am I at the same record as you, or am I at 10-4?
You're at 10-4, I think.
I think putting me at 10-4 while Joseph's at 9-5 after week 15. Going into week 16 against the Washington Commanders at home, playing against Carson Wentz, Terry McLaurin. Their defense is good. They have a stacked defense line. Chase Young.
Off an ACL.
Off an ACL. But Carson Wentz, I think that's a big factor.
He beat us last year.
He did beat us last year in that crazy rain game with the Colts. That was a crazy one. But I don't think he does it again. I think our pass rush this year is just going to win us a lot of games, and I think this is going to be another game where they're going to get to Carson Wentz, make him throw those picks. We'll see if he's even healthy by then too, because he's always hurt. But I think we get that win, putting us at 11-4, I believe, after week 16.
Yeah, I think it's a win as well against the Commanders. We should have beat the Colts last year. Colts were a much better team than the Commanders are this year. You remember it was one of those Dre Kirkpatrick got mossed. Terrible. Yeah, by Michael Pittman. It was terrible. But, yeah, I think he said the D-line. I think it's also your corners and safeties. We're pretty stacked on defense this year. It's a win, I believe, putting me at 10-5, heading into week 17 against the Raiders. And this is a tough game, man. Very tough game. Raiders, they got Devontae Adams reunited with Derek Carr's college quarterback. They got Hunter Renfrow, very underrated receiver. They have a good defense. I can't think of who they get. Max Crosby. They got someone else.
Yeah, I'm not too sure either.
Chandler Jones on defense as well. They're a pretty loaded team, to be honest with you. And I think week 17, the pass rush is going to give our O-line fits because our O-line ain't that good. I hate to say we're going to lose to the Raiders, but I want to be realistic with you guys. Devontae Adams, best receiver in the NFL, other than Cooper Kupp. 10-6, taking the loss.
Yeah, this game's going to be tough. It's going to be interesting as well to see, this is New Year's Day in Las Vegas. So we'll see if any players get in trouble, whether they're Raider players, Niner players. We'll see if some trouble arises from that. Like Joseph said, it's going to be a tough game. They're pretty stacked. Devontae Adams has given us fits in the past, not in the playoff game, but if you remember earlier in the season last year, it was Rodgers to Devontae Adams at the end of the game that got them in field goal position. Obviously, our corners are better this year, but Devontae Adams is going to win. He's still going to win no matter what. He's one of the best receivers. This one, like Joseph said too, their defensive line, I think, is going to give us some trouble. I will say a loss as well, putting me at 11-5. 11-5 going into the last game of the season against the Arizona Cardinals at home. This one, I'm going to shock some people. I think we'll sweep the Cardinals this year as well. They kind of cooled down at the end of the year last year. The Rams tore them up in the playoffs, and then towards the end of the year, they kept losing. So I think the Niners will get the win for the season sweep against the Cardinals because we always play them pretty well, except for last year. But I think we'll win, putting us at 12-5. 12-5 is my final record prediction, which we can touch on after Joseph gives his prediction for this one.
So I have us at 10-6 right now, heading into the last game. I believe this game is going to decide who goes to the playoffs between the 49ers and the Cardinals. And I think this time we're going to come out ready to play. We know what's on the line. We're going to get the job done, finish the season 11-6, and make it in as a wild card playoff team. So I finished our record at 11-6. You were at 12-5. So this is probably on the upper tier of wins. I could see us ranging anywhere from 8 wins to 12 wins. But that's what we think. Comment what you guys think the 49ers record is going to be this year. Comment if you think we're crazy, too many wins. Comment a game you think is going to surprise some people, whether it's a win or a loss. Let us know what you guys think in the comments. It's a tough schedule. I believe I saw it was the 5th toughest schedule in the NFL this year, which, you know, we play the AFC West and the NFC West. So those are the 2 toughest divisions in football, in my opinion, and it is what it is. Trey Lance is going to be under fire his first year, and that's good. It's going to get him ready because he's going to be playing all the top talent in the league right off the jump. And that could scare some people because they think that could hinder his development, but he has a good enough team around him to help elevate him up to that level of competition. So I think it's a good thing. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I agree. You know, you don't want unrealistic playing against the worst teams getting these wins because then you don't really know. Because once you hit those playoffs, you're going to be playing against the best of the best no matter what. So I think it's good that he's going to have a tougher regular season schedule. But like I said, I agree with Joseph. I think we can range anywhere from 8 wins to 12 wins. And I think that's pretty great for Trey Lance. First year starting, you know, hasn't played a lot of football these last few years. A lot of or at least starting like actual meaningful reps. He hasn't played a lot these last few years. So I think anything from 8 to 12 wins is extremely successful, and I think a lot of Niner fans will be happy with that from Trey as well. So yeah, I think 8 to 12 wins is going to be good. I think a lot of Niner fans will be happy with that.
And one last thing I want to say about the schedule is even if the 49ers, you know, injuries happen, that changes everything. But I just want to say, even if no injuries happen and the 49ers win less than 8 games, I'm still fine with it. This is Trey's first year. He's going to struggle. He's going to have ups and downs. We win 4 games. As long as I see development and growth, I don't care. I really don't care. Everyone's going to panic. Don't panic. Remember Josh Allen. You know, Herbert came out and looked good his first year starting, but he also played meaningful reps at a big Division I college. You know, you got to give this guy time, give him a couple years. Let this year just happen. No matter what happens, it is what it is. We just need to see growth and development this year.
Yeah, I think the Niners are also they have a lot more depth than they have in the last few years. Looking at corner, I don't think we touched on it, but we did re-sign Jason Verrett to a 1-year deal. So that's a big deal. You know, that's going to be a lot of depth. You have a lot of pretty good corners, you know, starting caliber corners. Even at the O-line, you know, we loaded up on some undrafted guys. So, yeah, I think a lot of depth this year is going to help out, especially on that defensive line. Like we said, D-line, corner, linebacker has a lot of depth. I think the defense will carry the team this year, and then the offense will eventually take over after that once Trey Lance kind of gets his footing a little bit better. But, yeah, so something to look forward to. Like Joseph said, too, as long as we see meaningful development from Trey and not panicking if we lose a few games down that stretch. You know, if we lose a few, that's fine. Stick with it. We'll get it back together. So, yeah, let's jump into this little rookie minicamp breakdown real quick, touch on some players here. So as you guys can see, there's a numerical roster of the 49ers rookie minicamp. First player to touch on is Jason Poe, who we did an interview with, a pre-draft interview. If you guys haven't seen it, go check it out. Great guy, great player, extremely interesting dude, played some fullback in college at a community college, and then moved to offensive guard, who could play offensive guard, center. So that's extremely interesting. Keep an eye out for him in this preseason and offseason. See if you want to touch on anybody else on there.
So I've been watching a couple breakdowns. The media was allowed at the first day of rookie minicamp, and that was it. And they said Danny Gray looks legit. They said, you know, a couple of those guys, we had a couple years coming out didn't look like they were the real deal, like AJ Jenkins, for example. Dante Pettis didn't look as good coming out. But they said Danny Gray looks the part of a good starting, wide receiver 3, wide receiver 4 his first year, which is good. They said the speed translates. He's looking good. Jason Poe. I saw a couple videos of the O-line working out there, and Jason Poe looks like the most athletic O-lineman out there at the moment. Drake Jackson and I believe, who's that guy from Fresno State? Atkins were the only 2 D linemen out there. So they were just doing like some positional drills. There were no like one-on-ones or anything. Drake Jackson looks huge, man. He looks, and I'm not saying like fat. I'm saying like the dude looks like a monster out there. They have him at 6'4", 273, and that dude has bend. So that's encouraging. 49ers released Connor Weddington. He was on the practice squad last year. Some other interesting guys to note, Calvin Turner Jr., 49ers brought him in as a tryout guy for minicamp. So this dude, he went to an FCS school, which is Division I FCS. He went to Jacksonville College, and he was a DB his freshman year, starting DB. The next 2 years at Jacksonville, Division I college, right? Same style as Trey Lance. They put him at quarterback, and the dude played like a running quarterback. He was a run-first quarterback, but he threw some touchdowns. He ran for hella yards, and then he transferred his senior year to Hawaii, Division I Hawaii. I believe they're in the Mountain West. Mm-hmm. And he played running back and wide receiver, and he did great there as well. Had a great bowl game. So, we'll see if he can earn a spot on the 90-man after this, if they cut someone and bring him on. But very, very intriguing player if you watch his highlights. Kind of your do-it-all guy, like what Debo did for us last year. He did that in college. Probably not as explosive, but you can see by playing all those positions, interesting player. Some other guys to touch on. I believe, as you guys have heard from all the 49ers guy, Donovan West, center, that people thought were going to go in the 3rd round. I expect him to probably make the team, hopefully. We talked about some of these guys, Tay Martin, Jordan Mason, running back. They said he has pretty good hands out of the backfield at minicamp. Our other guy, who's the other running back?
Tyrion
Davis Price. I heard his hands don't look very good at camp. That's something to note, but we know he's a bruiser, not a pass-catching guy. Brock Purdy, I believe Grant Cohn said, he has a weak arm, very weak arm.
Looks like a Jimmy G type guy.
Yeah, he said he's the weakest arm he's ever seen at 49ers camp, which is, it is what it is. I haven't seen it, so I'm just saying what he said. But some interesting guys in camp. We'll see if any of these guys can make the 90-man, if any of these guys can make the 52-man roster. Any guys you want to touch on?
I know a lot of Niner fans are also huge on Leon O'Neal Jr. I saw a little clip on Twitter. It wasn't in like he wasn't guarding a receiver or anything. It was just like a little practice thing, and he came up and snagged a one-handed pick, I guess you could say. So that's encouraging. Maybe he has some ball skills, which the Niners kind of lack at DB, as well as somebody who's kind of interesting that I just saw right now is Troy Fumagalli. He's a tight end from Wisconsin. and it looks like he has a 5-year experience in the NFL. And I remember him coming out of college, and I thought he was going to be a pretty good tight end, but I think he got hurt or something. So that's someone to keep an eye on. As you know, I thought the Niners needed a lot of help at tight end. He's as well as Dan Brown, who's 8-year guy out of James Madison. I mean, if you look at these tight ends too, there's another tight end below that, Dan Brown, Garrett Walston. These dudes are big dudes, 6'4" for Walston, 6'5" for Dan Brown, and then Fumagalli is 6'6". So, those are bigger tight ends, something to keep your eye on. I'm curious to see if one of those guys will make it. So there's a lot of interesting dudes on here. Kalia Davis, who was our 6th-round pick, he's not going to be playing a lot since he was hurt, but something to keep your eye on. Alfredo Gutierrez, who was our international player last year. I want you to touch on what was his name? Samuel Womack, because I know you had some thoughts on Womack.
So yeah, I do. I will say it's interesting seeing those, a lot of veteran tight ends in this camp. So they're probably looking to bring someone in. But so Womack, I was watching some film, and I don't have all 22, so I don't get to see the, the back end zone angle of actual technique or anything. And I'm not an evaluator, so I can't break down some technique or whatever anyways. But I was watching a couple of game films of Sam Womack, and he does look pretty sticky in coverage. He's always around the receiver. But I did notice in run defense, he tries to stay pretty, man. He would not come up and try to make a tackle. If it was a run going the opposite direction, he wouldn't make an effort to go over there. And then the running back could break out. And, he could have been over there to stop the play, and he wasn't over there. They'd run they do a pitch play his way. He's trying to stay in front of the receiver so he doesn't have to come up and make the hit. And there were some times where he was off the field, and I don't know if it was maybe an injury, but it seemed like it was a run down, they knew a run was coming, and he was off the field. So I showed you some of that tape. It's just, I don't think he touches the field for the 49ers if he's not going to put effort in the run game, because the 49ers rely on that slot corner to play run defense effectively. So if he's going to play meaningful snaps this year, they're going to expect run defense from him. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I agree. He did look a little soft, maybe. But like Joseph said, we're also not evaluators. We're just fans. We can't break down technique or film. We don't know what his responsibilities were. But his effort did look lacking a little bit. So that's something to watch for. Somebody who I thought was interesting that we looked into a little bit was Quantrez Knight, who also is a kind of like a slot corner guy. He looked very physical. This dude was blitzing off the edge. He was playing in the box. He looked pretty good at slot. So that's somebody to watch for as well, Quantrez Knight. And then the last guy I want to touch on was Marcelino McCray-Ball, who Grant Cohn said was playing pretty well. He was the defensive MVP. So that's somebody to keep an eye on, even though our linebacker room is stacked. And then last thing, I know a lot of Niner fans were freaking out, they gave Jonathan Jones number 50. But this is just the mini camp, They also gave an offensive lineman or somebody number 74. The numbers don't mean anything because you can have multiple 50s. You can have a 50 on defense and a 50 on offense in the offseason. These are just filler numbers right now, so they can, for example, look at Brock Purdy and Leon O'Neal, number 14 and number 14. You have 241s, 247s, 249s. So don't worry about the numbers. That doesn't mean Max retiring for sure, even though I think he is going to retire. But that doesn't mean anything solidified.
One last guy I wanted to touch on before we move on is Kiki Chisholm. He was a wide receiver brought in last moment for a tryout. He's 6'5", 214 pounds. He's a rookie out of Missouri. He played, I believe he was a JUCO guy, and then he went to Angelo State, which is a Division II college. And then his last year of eligibility, he transferred up to Missouri D1 SEC school. So he had a decent year there. I believe Grant Cohn and a couple other reporters said he had the catch of the day. It was like some circus catch on the sideline from the first day of rookie minicamp. Just interesting thing to note. Huge receiver. Not sure how his speed is, how his route running is, but just one thing I wanted to mention. So yeah, that's our rookie minicamp breakdown. A lot of these guys are on tryouts, so they won't be in camp the next camp. That'll just be your 90-man roster. A lot of these guys, I believe 14 of them were signed undrafted of these guys, but we have a breakdown of our 90-man roster that we're going to bring up to show you guys. We're not going to say who we think is going to make the team. We're saving that for the next video. So we'll bring it up for you right now.
Yep. And like you said, probably a good number of these guys aren't going to end up making the roster of the rookie minicamp players at least. But they are interesting just to touch on now, possibly. A lot of upside, you know. And then here is our 90-man roster that we have updated. It's in no particular order, just how we have it at the moment. Just looking at it, you know, you got 4 quarterbacks, probably not going to keep all 4, probably keep 2, maybe 3, depending on what's going on. Running back stacked. You have a bunch of running backs that you're going to have to filter through because you can't keep all of them, even if you'd want to. Same with receivers. I know there's a few receivers on there like Malik Turner, Ray McLeod. There's another guy that was Malik Turner, who was a Marcus Johnson, I believe, who they said is pretty good on special teams. So those are some guys to watch for. Tight ends, like we said, there's a bunch of experienced tight ends that we brought in for rookie minicamp tryouts. O-line's going to be interesting too. See how that shakes out with McGlinchey coming back from that injury. We'll see how Burford, Zakel, West, Poe, we'll see which one of them, because I'm sure at least one of them will make the out of the 3, out of Zakel, West, and Poe, I think one of those guys will end up making Schlutler. I don't even know who that is, but
They said he looked pretty good. He's from where's he from? Minnesota. Left tackle from Minnesota, I believe.
So I guess keep an eye on Schlutler. But I think one of Zakel, West, Poe, and Schlutler will make the team. So keep an eye on those guys. If you want to scroll down a little bit. Okay, you have any thoughts on the offense, and then I'll let you break down the defense.
So, like we said, the O-line is a question mark, and it's going to be a question mark all through the offseason. But the 49ers brought in a ton of competition, which is what we like to see. And if you – oh, wait, I don't know if I can add our thumbnail to this since it's a live stream after. Yeah, I think I can. But the thumbnail says, is the 49ers roster elite? And while their O-line may not be elite at the moment, I believe they brought in enough competition to bring out the best of the roster. You know what I mean? And it's going to be a vicious competition. You know, I don't think the 49ers are just going to hand Brunskill and Banks the job this year. And if Mac's gone that job either, I think it's like, hey, whoever is the best is going to be starting. You know what I mean? And I also think at receiver, we have a ton of talent at receiver, whether it be rookies, drafted, undrafted, people on the team, the best players are going to play. So I wouldn't be surprised if some of these vets get beat out even by undrafted dudes, because receiver nowadays, it's kind of like how running back has been, where you can get people undrafted and they could be ready to play now. Think of Kendrick Bourne his rookie year. So that's just something I wanted to touch on. And think about, hey, that undrafted running back, he might make the roster. I would not be surprised with that either. So competition is going to be fierce this year, and it's going to bring out the best out of every position, on offense especially. You had something to touch on?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, if you guys go watch our last interview with Tarell Brown, he also touches on how Harbaugh was going to start the best player no matter your draft position or how much money you're making. He said the best players are going to start. So like Joseph said there, that's another interesting thing. Shanahan has been known to do the same, like last year, for example, with Eli Mitchell starting over Trey Sermon. Eli Mitchell, 6th-round pick. Sermon was a 3rd-round pick. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure there's a lot of other players. Brunskill starting over Banks, That was another 2nd-round pick. Brunskill was undrafted, even though it's a little bit of a different situation. But go check out that Tarell Brown interview. He talks about Harbaugh and the best players playing, how that affects him as a player and other players around him, because Shanahan has been known to do the same. So I just wanted to add that in there too.
Yeah, great interview. If you actually want to learn more about how that Harbaugh era was, how Tarell Brown's whole career was with the 49ers, because remember, he was on the team before Harbaugh, through the Harbaugh years. He even talked a bit about the quarterback controversy with Alex Smith to Kaepernick. And we asked him, like, how was that? Because that's currently happening with Jimmy and Trey. Definitely recommend you go look at that. Defense. So as you can see here, there's going to be some starting defensive linemen on different teams from our team this year that are not going to make the roster. It's going to be interesting because, like, you got Bosa, Omenihu, Jordan Willis, Ebukam, Drake Jackson, Kerry Hyder, Kamiko Toure. Those guys can all start on a roster. They could all start on any roster, almost any roster in the NFL that you have a starter out of those players. So it's pretty insane to me, that amount of talent. And then interior, you have Armstead, Kinlaw, Givens, Ridgeway, and Mo Hurst.
Atkins as well.
Atkins, and those, you have at least 3 to 4 starters interior as well there that could probably start on other teams. So all of these dudes can't make the roster, and if you put them on the practice squad, they're going to get picked up by someone else. So like I said, man, it's going to be a vicious competition. And like I said, that O-line may not be the best. They're going to have to get good because they're going to be going against these guys every day in practice. So very good D-line. Chris Kasarik makes these dudes monsters. He's the GOAT of this team. You look at the linebacker core, we know our entrenched starters. They brought in Orem Burks for special teams. We heard that McCrary Ball looks like the MVP of rookie minicamp. We'll see. The 49ers are great at bringing undrafted and late-round dudes into the linebacker room. We'll see what happens. But, man, look at how much better the DB room is this year than last year. You did lose Tart, which he's still a free agent. We'll see what happens. But look at the corners, man. Charvarius Ward, Emmanuel Mosley, Jason Verrett. You got Diamador Lenore, Ambry Thomas, Dante Johnson, Castro Fields, Womack, Denard. That DB room is pretty loaded, man. we'll see how it all pans out. You know, at safety, you got Jimmy Ward. Tavarius Moore was going to take Tart's spot, but then he got injured. You still got Hufanga, who has talent, Odom, Leon O'Neal. I think this DB room is pretty stacked this year. And like we said, best player is going to play. It's going to be a fierce, fierce competition.
Yeah, I mean, going over that D line too, that is just insane. You have Bosa, who had 10+ sacks. You have Ebukamwa, I think, had 5+. Kamiko Toure had a 5+ last year. Kerry Hyder with the Niners the year before last had like 8 or 9. Omenu, who has great upside. Jordan Willis made the huge play against the Packers. Drake Jackson, I know a lot of people are high on as well. So that's just very intriguing. Linebackers, same thing. You know, Joe touched on that pretty well. And then the corners too. You have at least Tarell Ward starting lockdown corner, Emmanuel Mosley starting corner, Ambry Thomas towards the end of last year starting corner, Jason Verrett if healthy all-pro corner. Dante Johnson is like a cockroach, can't get rid of him. But that dude, man, very versatile. He can play safety, he can play outside corner, nickel corner. So, yeah, I mean, Tariq Castro-Fields, I know our guy Eric Crocker, he's high on him. So, yeah, I mean, it's stacked. You know, like we said, the depth is going to be huge this year. And that's something that the Niners have always lacked. They've always been derailed by injuries. And the depth this year, I think, is going to help counter that. So it's very intriguing.
So, yeah, that's what we got for you today, you know. We touched on a lot of things, a lot of good things to touch on. You know, it's going to be very interesting to see who makes this team. Loaded roster, and there's a lot of good players fighting for the back end spots. I'm just excited to see who makes this team, who makes this roster. It was good to see some highlights from rookie minicamp, you know, the people getting back out there. And, you know, competition sharpens, you know, the iron. It's going to be a good year. Thanks for everybody who tuned in. Thanks for everybody who watches this not live as well. You know, go watch our Jason Poe interview. Go watch our Tarell Brown interview. We're pumping out good content. Subscribe to us, man. We're doing our best to get you guys the good stuff. Let us know what you'd like to see. You know, let us know if you like seeing us together in this video. This is a one-time thing. Bubba's going back to Spain. So we had to get this video out for you guys live. Let us know what you guys thought. Any closing remarks?
Yeah, like Joe said, go watch our past interviews. They're great interviews with Jason Poe, who's on the Niners currently, and then getting a retroactive perspective from Tarell Brown with Harbaugh, Mike Nolan, and Mike Singletary. It's a great interview. Like, comment, subscribe. Stay tuned for next week's podcast as well, as we will be breaking down the 90-man roster and giving our projections for the 53-man roster. So we'll get into that, who we think is going to make it out of that edge room, or the D-line room, I guess you could say, who's going to make it out of the corners, you know. So stay tuned for that one. And if you're watching it, go ahead and subscribe. You're already there. Help us out a little bit. Like Joseph said, we're pushing out that great content. Let us know what you guys think about it. Like he said, let us know what you guys want to see. Thanks for watching again. You got anything else?
Nope.
All right. We'll see you guys next week. Stay tuned.
Tony Montana, Tony Montana, Tony Montana. Check up on my ear.